This topology brush, as I was saying, if you alt-click and drag off of it, it clears any excess edges. If you alt-click and drag across an existing edge, it'll delete that edge. And if you want to extend an edge out, you want to just hover near it. The cursor will turn blue, and then that allows you to kind of extend or continue some of those loops outwards. So this can be really, again, it's a little quirky, I find. So if you have a really, really big brush, it makes a chunkier line. And you see the division lines there, the black and the orange. When you cut across, it's going to snap to one of those, right? So it'll pull it over to the nearest one. So it's a pretty interesting option, I find, just directly in ZBrush. This existed way before Quad Draw in Maya. So as you drag across, right, you can start to get some nice, clean topology. So again, Alt-click and drag off clears it. If you tap off of the model now, so that's just tapping. Let's say my brush size is really big, I tap off. You get a thickness. That thickness is related to the brush size. So if you want a thin mesh, which you usually do for character mesh, you Alt-tap off of it. And what's left behind is something that's unmasked. So if I go to split unmasked points, I get this. Pretty cool, right? Now, like I said, I mentioned earlier, if you have a mesh and you're trying to get to 10,000 points, I think if you divide that by 4, 10,000 divided by 4 is 2,500. Divide that by 4, it's 625. So if I make a base head of around 625 polys, I can work quicker. Why? Because I can move loops more easily, and I can insert loops more quickly, right? Because I have less mesh to struggle against. So if I'm trying to insert a loop or something, I can do that really, really quickly. Insert loop. Right, so I can do that really, really quickly, like so. So that's really powerful. The other thing I should mention is if you divide this, there will be a crease line. It sort of automatically creases the center line and the outer borders. So for that, I usually just go to Geometry, Crease, and just say Uncrease All in this case. And let me unhide. Oops, I think I went to Crease All by accident. I'm just going to hide everything else off so I can focus on these two parts here. Okay, so get out of solo, transparency. And yes, let's just go in here. Yeah, so I want to creasing it all by accident. So I'll go to uncrease all. There we go. Now again, if I go to transparency, right, the shape is not quite there, so you can just simply project. And my method of projecting is to go project at the lowest, divide, project. Divide, project, divide, project. If we solo that, right, it is a very good, clean copy of that mesh. So I would keep going with what I had here. So let me just undo a couple steps. So again, I'm doing a very, very simplified mesh. For me, I usually like to have a loop that comes from here down across like so. And, may not totally line up exactly with the nose, but you can always, I'm working at a very low level so I can work quickly. If I had to draw 10,000 polygons and vertices, it would take me forever to do it this way. So I'm doing a much simplified, reduced poly version because I know I could just divide a couple times and project it, right? So it's usually good, yeah. So you have this thing called the nasal labial fold. Okay, so this thing, right, comes down from the side of the nostril, forms the cheek, and it leads down into the jowls. When you're older, the jowls will kind of hang down, right? They're puffier. Your muscles are slowly detaching from your jawbone. Aging is a terrible thing, folks. Yeah, so usually that corresponds with these two loops, right? So that helps. So it's all kind of anatomically focused. That's, I think, very important. So let me just extend this. So I'm cleaning up the drawing so I can try to get better quads. But again, I find this topology brush is sometimes a little on the messy side to deal with. Again, we want to trace the eyelid line very, very closely. And I usually have a loop that kind of comes out from here that forms the beginning of this. Okay, so this is Oops, I'm drawing really badly right now. Yeah, so this can kind of keep going out. And we usually... You mean with the topology brush, it doesn't... Yeah, if you draw larger, it's going to look smoother, but the problem is it sort of snaps weirdly. What you can do is just turn on lazy mouse. So lazy mouse will average out your brush stroke if you turn up lazy radius and lazy smooth. So that can help. Like I don't always have the straightest stroke. And then, again, I like to kind of keep my edges consistent here. So the same number top and bottom, roughly the same distance. So again, this is all fairly quick. I'm not doing the cleanest version yet, but and yeah, sometimes you get these weird little double dots. So I do know a lot of people find this method frustrating. So I'll show you method number 2, which is to send to Maya.